Hello and welcome to Morning Brew. It is Wednesday, the 5th of July, 2023. Got loads of people in the chat. First of all, big shout out to Pineapple Boy. Thank you very much for the super chat, Pineapple Boy. Unfortunately, your message is terrifying, but I'll read it out anyway. Are the Russians blowing up the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant tonight? The feeble response of the West to the dam green lighted it. Some Pineapple Boy. Yeah, the dam burst. Obviously, where was that? Was that Kramatorsk? No, it wasn't. Something like that. Yeah, the dam that the Russians blew up. Let's face it, causing a huge environmental damage, killing over 100 people. And the West's kind of tepid response to this ecocide has empowered maybe the Russians to basically blow up a nuclear power plant, the biggest in Europe, which is entirely concerning for most of us who don't want things to be stricken down with radiation for thousands and thousands of years in the future. I know it won't be Chernobyl for various reasons to do with science, which I don't quite understand, but it still will be absolutely monumentally horrific. Something else that's monumentally horrific at the moment is the temperature of the planet. The temperature of the planet. We've got an El Nino effect that's coming in as well, and the temperature of the Atlantic Ocean is off the charts. The amount of ice melt in Greenland is off the charts, and the heat globally of the world is over 1.5 degrees Celsius, which is what we promised we wouldn't go above in the 2016 climate change summit in Paris. Was it 2015? Yeah, the one that Trump pulled out of as soon as he could, because he's a goodie. He's a goodie. Anyway, morning all, says Rob. Sorry, slightly late. That is a lot likely to upset the Chinese, although they get quite touchy about this kind of thing. What, blowing up a nuclear power plant? Well, I would hope so. There we go. The morning all. We are still having a good day, and the bank accounts are open, says Dave Skelly, referring obviously to Nigel Farage not having enough money to keep his Coots account. Coots, careful how you say that. Accounts for Coots. Basically, he doesn't have enough money in his account. That was why they dropped him. My heart bleeds. It doesn't really. I honestly hate that man. The world will be a better place, some have said, without him. Right, anyway, so I'm just going to talk a little bit, first of all, about Felicity Cornelius Mercer. She didn't go to the local comp, did she? Well, Felicity Cornelius Mercer is the wife of... What's her sister then? There's a sister wife of... No. Is the wife of Johnny Mercer, MP, who was the MP for Veteran Affairs. Now, last year, when Liz Truss was in power for 2 weeks, for that awful fortnight, it was actually 6 weeks, but the Queen died. Things happened. She sacked him as a member of the Veterans Affairs, to which Felicity Cornelius Mercer, his wife, got onto the Twitters and said she's an imbecile, and tweeted a picture of Beaker from the Muppets. Well, it was Liz Truss, but it had been done up like she was Beaker from the Muppets. Anyway, so now she's been on whining in the same woman whining in the Telegraph about people being mean online, people being mean, and who's she chosen to pick on? Carol Vorderman. Yeah. Literally Carol Vorderman. I mean, I don't really know what to say about stuff like this. It's kind of mind-blowing in a way. Apparently, according to Felicity Cornelius Mercer, she says, and they call politicians narcissistic. Carol Vorders is on another level and playing the public for fools. Don't fall for any blanket hatred of any persuasion. I don't know if I can bring this up on the screen so we get a little... There you go. It's clever, this, isn't it? I've set things up finally after 3.5 years of doing this. I'm finally getting my head together. Right. Okay. So Felicity Cornelius Mercer there saying, and they call politicians narcissistic. Carol Vorders is on another level. Sorry, it's getting cut off at the top there. Don't fall for any blanket hatred of any persuasion. Apparently, This is according to the Telegraph article. Carol Vorderman, which is actually spelt wrong in the if you have a look there. I was trying to get the pointer to appear, but if you look at it, Carol Vorderman, inciting hate towards Tories, says minister's wife. Apparently, she's inciting hate. Why? Well, because, get this, she literally just basically called them out for being cruel and unusual. She actually called them today. She posted something saying that they were corrupt and cruel, and to prove her wrong. Given the events yesterday, in which a prominent Tory MP, Robert Degenerate, decided that he was going to tell a centre for refugees to paint over the cartoons, murals on the wall, because he didn't want it to be too jolly for these people who are like, fleeing the most horrific violence you could ever imagine. Actually seeing that as a child. We stop our children seeing violence because, we have certificates on films and things. We say, oh, you can't come and see this film unless you're literally 18, which is a bit mad. But there you go. That's the rules we have. Whereas in other countries, those acts of violence actually happen in real life, not special effects, not squibs, not CGI. No, real life violence that these children have witnessed. And they thought, well, we might make the processing centre a little bit nicer, or the refugee centre, by drawing some cartoons on the wall. And he's like, no, we're not doing that. It's just, yeah. Anyway, so Felicity piled in there, to which we had Super Tansky coming on there saying that Carol Vorders is sticking up. I'm going to see if I can just make this a bit smaller so it actually fits on. Oh, that doesn't work, does it? I'm having one of those days. Let's see what F11 does. That makes it even worse. Screw you, F11. Carol Vorders is sticking up for millions. It's laughable that you think you can speak for us. Your name is Felicity Cornelius Mercer. So posh, it's like a parody. Cost of living hitting you hard, is it? Downsizing mansions. I think you better sit down, love. Right? To which Felicity responded, I definitely don't speak for you in your drivel. And yes, the family estate does need some repair work, so a bit of sympathy wouldn't go amiss. Oh, I've just the title. Come on again. Sorry, get rid of that. I thought it was so cool then, doing my transitions perfectly without any. It didn't quite work out that way. Right, is that Carol V? It is Carol V. It is. Sorry, Flick. Already blanket hating all Tories. Your plea is 45 years too late. That's from Paul Ewan. Talking of years, it is the 75th anniversary of the NHS today, which is fantastic. I've already been to the doctors today. Not for me, for a member of the family. So that was fantastic. It's NHS, you turn up, they check you out, they don't charge you anything, and then you come home and you're like, okay, thanks for that. But the NHS isn't going to survive another 75 years with 50 of them being run by the Tories, because that's the way it works at the moment. We have a third of all years in any given century run by Labour, and we have 2/3 run by the Tories. That's what you get with the first past the post voting system, which needs to be abolished as soon as possible. Carol Vorderman, or Warderman in the Fiona Cornelius language. I think it's the Tower of Babel. It's a Graham. Says Richard. You love those titles, don't you, Graham? Yes, I do. Well, no, it just automatically plays unless I hide that layer. So sorry, problem. What have I missed? I didn't get a notification you were live. Sorry, leap shit. I actually we come on every weekday at 9:30, or at least we try to. The NHS won't last another 5 years, let alone 75. Says Vendetta. Yep, God save the NHS. Happy birthday to Labour's greatest creation. Indeed. And don't forget, the NHS was founded in the ashes of the World War II, the rubble of World War II, when people were rebuilding their homes, rebuilding their lives after their family members had died horribly fighting the bloody Nazis. I mean, the NHS was put together by the greatest generation. It was conceived by the greatest generation and actually administered in those first crucial years by the Greatest Generation. It was a harder task to get it going in the first place than it is now to just keep it going. But the Tories aren't interested in that, and that's why if you ever look at a chart of hospital waiting times, it's like it's almost like a cartoon graph. It goes up and up and up and up under the Tories until 1997. Then it goes down, 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 down under Labour until 2010. And then under the Tories, it goes up, 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 up until now, which has just gone off the charts. Liam wants to know, did I have a good Glastonbury? I had a fantastic Glastonbury. Thank you very much, Liam. It was very hot. It was exhausting getting around, but I did manage to see Elton John live. So that's one to tick off the list. So GNR again. But this time with added slash, so more proper GNR than before. Also saw Lightning Seeds, which was nice. He changed some of the lyrics, so they were about Liverpool. Saw the Manics, which is fantastic, and they were joined by the Anchoress for This Is Yesterday, which I still have on single. Also saw what else did we see? Sophie Ellis Bextor. Just she was singing some songs, which was nice, and Blondie, who's like 78 years old and still dancing around the stage and singing at the age of 78. Really impressive. Anyway, but yeah. Also, I performed at Glastonbury. I was there at Glastonbury at the Nomad stage on the Thursday with Super Tansky and Danny effing Price and Aid Thompson and some others as the part of the Riot Society, which is basically political stand-up humour, taking the mick out of the Tories, which, at this stage, it does feel like shooting fish in a barrel. But having said that, the Tories are still in power, and while they remain in power, I don't think that our assault on them, in terms of social media and things like that, what little we can do, because we're not allowed to protest anymore. We're not allowed to even think about protesting anymore. They don't want us to strike anymore unless, everyone in the entire union says yes, using some Victorian adding machine in order to send off their votes to be processed, which takes weeks and weeks and weeks. And they have to have the strike within 6 months of them having that vote, which takes you ages to put together. They can't do it online. Not like picking on a new prime minister, which was done online by anyone who was a member of the Tory party. So you could be not British, and you could vote for who the leader of the Tory party, therefore our prime minister, was. You could do that last year. Do you remember that? That was fun. Democracy. Yeah, you hate democracy, someone said to me once when I was brandishing a bollocks to Brexit flag. You hate democracy. I'm like, no. You obviously are the person who hates democracy, because democracy that is not allowed to change its name isn't a democracy. Sorry, to change its name. The democracy that's not able to change its mind is not a democracy. I think that Michael Gove said that, didn't he? Anyway, yeah, man, I prefer a rainy one personally. Proper jealous seeing Blondie like. Well, Liam, let me just say, I've been to a few rainy Glastonburys. 2007, I think, and definitely 1997 and 1998, 2 years in a row, were rainy and absolutely covered in mud and horrific. Absolutely horrific. It was like the goddamn Somme with slightly less death, obviously. I'm sorry. It's a bit too soon to make comparisons like that, but it was grim. It was grim. I remember being in Blur in 1998, not in the band obviously, but in the mosh pit, and people were just falling over, slipping over in the mud. This is before they put the barriers in. This is before the super fence, so there are probably too many people in there. Now they have a barrier between the front of the stage, and everybody else. So you have a little area that's the front of the stage area, and then you can't have that big push at the back, which is what killed people in Roskilde in 2000 in Denmark. So it was scary. It was scary at one point. Sagar is there in the chat saying happy birthday to the NHS with a £5 super chat from Canada. Thank you very much. $5 even. Checking in from the Labour stronghold, that is the Australian state of Victoria, that the Tories will be wiped out in 2025. All right, mate, from Victoria. Good stuff. I'm just having a look at that, but it says Canadian dollars. CA, isn't that Canadian? Why are you paying in Canadian? Are you on holiday? Jim Davidson and Jeff Norcott at Glastonbury. How would that go down? I don't know who Jeff Norcott is, but I know who Jim Davidson is. He's awful. Remember, you cannot criticise the Labour Party now without being thrown out. That's not entirely true. I've been slagging off the Labour Party and the Tories for as long as I liked on this channel. No one's had a word with me. No one's tapped me on the shoulder and said, can you wind it in a little bit, Graham? You got a bit nuts. I'll let you know when they do, but until this moment, I've not been thrown out of the Labour Party. I mean, I'm sure if I wrote articles slagging off Keir Starmer and the Labour Party for national newspapers, and yeah, then they probably wouldn't want me as part of the. It's like, why would you be a member of this club that you obviously don't want to be a member of? Yeah, indeed. Can we please bring in breath testing and piss testing for MPs voting? If they blow or sample positive, their vote doesn't count due to being impaired. That's from a pedantic peasant. Yep. Well, I would like them to take drugs tests and for anyone found with cocaine in their system to be sacked immediately. We'd have 200 Tory by-elections next week. How about we put them over a barrel and say vote to legalise drugs, or we're doing drugs tests on all of years. Rugby was born in privately public school in rugby school with Gilbert's ball. Gilbert's balls. Soccer was born in Preston Comprehensive School on the Ed Son. That's from Hugh. Norcott is the right-wing comedian who was on the MASH report sometimes. Ooh, really? Tell people not to vote Labour, then why are you a Labour Party member? That's a very good point, the British Great British Video Gamer. I don't know why Owen Jones is still a member of Labour. That sort of blows my mind. It's like he's been really, really critical and told people to vote for other parties. Yeah, and he's still in there. He's still in there. But then again, Kate Hoey was still in Labour as an MP while she was actually campaigning with the Brexit Party. Yeah, maddening, I know. Okay, anyway, so these people annoy me. Unworthy Farm featuring Roy Chubby Brown in the right field. That's very good. We should do that, like an alternative Glastonbury as a sketch or something. It's just bloody awful. It's just terrible. It's like the worst thing ever. Anyway, so yeah, we did a little bit about Cornelius. But what else is going on in the world? Well, we have an operation going on in Israel, and we're not going to get dragged into Israeli politics, but there's been a major operation in Jenin in the West Bank, which has resulted in people dying and is awful. And with a right-wing leader like Benjamin Netanyahu in charge of Israel, and the rest of the world not seem to give a stuff anymore about peace in the Middle East. It was a big thing when I was growing up, big thing in the 80s and especially in the 90s, the Camp David Accords. The people wanted peace in the Middle East, and they were pursuing it, as their life's mission. And then Yitzhak Rabin got shot in about 1995, and then since then, it's just been. He got shot by a Jewish extremist, by the way, not by a Palestinian. In the same way that that Gandhi was shot by a Hindu extremist, and obviously John Lennon was shot by a really big fan. But yeah, since then it's just been a stain on the conscience of the world, as the Israelis have gone more and more right wing, and especially in their government, and the amount of power that the religious right have in Israel is now a little bit off the charts. And the Palestinians have been basically hemmed in, and we have this ridiculous, disgusting cycle of every few years. They build up enough weapons to start firing rockets across into Israel, which obviously Israel responds disproportionately and takes out a lot of Palestinians. And I wish... the reason why I say it's a stain on the conscience of the international community is because we should be doing something about this. I hate the idea that, oh no, it's a long way away. It's nothing to do with us. We have to let them deal with it. No. We should be forcing them to sit around the conference table and thrash out a solution, because what they're doing at the moment, this is just a perpetual cycle of violence and death and horror that's going to go on forever. And that's not the way it should be. There are ways of solving the difficulties in Palestine, Israel, and they could do it. They could do it if they had the will, but that will isn't there anymore. And the will on our side, and in the UK, the EU as well needs to take some blame for this. The US definitely has taken its eye off the ball horrifically, and people have died violently as a result of our just not doing not our crime of inaction. It's the only way to describe it. So yeah, that's pretty grim. Moving on to other news, slightly less grim news. Oh no, actually, no, it's even more grim. We're looking at the El Nino weather event, and the world must prepare for more extreme heat, which is awful, obviously, because it means that people are going to die. People are going to die in pain. People are going to move from where they are, creating more refugees, creating more racists, creating more fascists, getting them into power, and the cycle just keeps going. One of the reasons why the right wing love climate change so much, and why they love war and disruption so much, and why they won't do anything to try and achieve peace in the Middle East, for instance, and why they, were so. I mean, there's a point that they are very much dialed into the political military complex, but there's also the fact that they know that these kind of instabilities around the world create refugees, and refugees are great for getting authoritarian, corrupt governments in charge around the world, and you make more money if you are already corrupt and powerful and rich out of corrupt autocratic regimes than you do out of democracies that have things like, I don't know, regulations, checks and balances, a law that applies to everyone, not just people who aren't rich. Labour Social, this is from Liam North, just heard yesterday that Freddie Mercury lived in Dovedale Towers for a while in the 1970s. What? In Liverpool, off Penny Lane. Brilliant. I used to go to school up the road. I used to go to Bluecoat, so I used to get the bus to Penny Lane every day. So now, the 92, as it was then, I think it's the 62 now. But yeah, whenever I hear the song Penny Lane, it's like that wistful youth. That the nostalgia. Toxic nostalgia, perhaps. I don't know. But yeah, the Dovedale Towers is off Penny Lane in Liverpool, famous for the song, and also being named after a family of slave traders, which is less cool. He's too sexy for his hat, yes. Hugh says, Westminster Commons Tory bogs have more white lines than early 1980s New York nightclub Studio 54. I've been there, it was mad. 54 or Parliament. Used to get the 86 myself. How'd you get a budgie to speak? On the 81. It's a Liverpool joke. Graham, you are right about right-wing governments. Thank you. Got something right. Makes a change. People are like typing in, why aren't you Phil? I did enjoy that yesterday. I put out a video which was quite vitriolic against Nigel Farage, who I hate, and got a few messages. And it's kind of fun because you think, you've watched my video, or at least you've watched enough of it to like leave a comment. So I've actually made tiny amount of money out of that person interacting with the video. So thanks, even though the comment is like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Farage is wonderful. But yeah, so that always amuses me. You don't know what you're talking about. Bluecoat scored a hat-trick against them back in 75. Plumbed off, I went to church and the priest said, let us pray to protect our current Prime Minister. Now I just can't do that. Well, I don't want any physical harm to come to him or any Tory MPs, to be honest with you. Well, I want them out of office and I want them in jail. It's as simple as that. They're all a bunch of crooks. They are criminals running the country like a mafiosi-style operation, which is screwing you and me and everyone, and the NHS, and our education system, and our exports, and our imports, and just literally everything in life. Our housing market, the economy. They are screwing everything for their own personal gain. We need to get rid of them, and I can't stress this enough. I will be way critical of Labour once they're in power. I will be critical of their manifesto once the manifesto comes out. At the moment, no. I'm not going to join in with this, oh God, Labour are just as bad nonsense, because the problem is the Tories are the big enemy, all right? We can fight amongst ourselves afterwards, but first of all, we need to defeat the Conservatives. It's really important because they are making life miserable for millions of us, which isn't great. Oh, Mellow Maggot gives me £5 super chat. Thank you very much, Mellow. Really, really appreciate that. If anyone else wants to drop a super chat in, please do, because YouTube for the last 3 months has been demonetizing every single live video that me or Phil does on this channel. It's like auto demonetized, and we have to apply for it to be remonetized, and that takes up to a week. Thanks, YouTube. By which time, no one watches these videos because it's a week out of date. We're not talking about anything that's happening now. Anyway, so much easier optics for Xi and Putin is is the front cover of the CNN of CNN. Sorry, India downplayed arrangements at this year's SCO summit, but Russian and Chinese leaders may not be complaining. And the Taliban compounds misery for women in Afghanistan with an order to close all beauty salons. Now, there's the Taliban, they live in Afghanistan, and then there's the American Taliban, and they live in America. But they both have the same aims to subjugate women and minorities and just be horrible to people in general. Right, so we are now going to go over to have a little look at what the papers have been saying, because this is kind of popular. People seem to respond to this. If you think this is awful and you don't want to read what the stupid papers have to stupid say out their stupid faces, then please, we can do something else. But for the moment, here we go. We'll have a little look. We've got the UK mortgage crunch on the newspaper there. You can see that little arrow going up. That's every time they've raised interest rates. The Bank of England has raised interest rates, and obviously you can see it's kind of going a little bit off the charts there. And then there's a story about the overhaul to tackle the scourge of rogue police. This is the sacking of disgraced police officers under plans. Yeah, you know that the disgraced police officers, they should have been sacked for being disgraced in the first place, but there you go. Johnny Copperhead with Tuck the Fories. Thank you very much, Johnny Copperhead. £5 super chat, really appreciate it. Plum Duff, £10 super chat, thank you. YouTube, stop taking money off Graham. Thank you very much, Plum Duff. I really, really appreciate that. US pushes for von der Leyen to be NATO chief. That's on the front cover of the Daily Telegraph. Obviously, von der Leyen is she's not the president of the EU, is she? She's the Secretary General, something like that. She's high up in the EU, and that's gonna just really upset the European Commission head. Just remember all the different titles here. The European Commission head. Ursula von der Leyen. That's going to upset the Brexiteers, isn't it? And they've got a picture of Kate on the front. They've all got pictures of Kate, and that's Murray. That's Andrew Murray on the front cover of the Times there, and on the Telegraph it's Roger Federer. We're going a bit tennis mad. I think Wimbledon's in full swing or something. Apparently, this is quite interesting from the start. So basically, the hello caused Brexit. Blames the Beeb favourite for schism idea being that because they othered the people from Europe, that we felt like we were different from them in some way. I think that's part of it. I mean, a big part of Brexit was cultural, I guess. Another picture of Andy Murray. I'm supporting him all the way to the quarterfinals. UK ready to drop 11.6 billion pledge for climate fund. This is really bad news here on the front cover of The Guardian. This is the government's pledge of 11.6 billion towards stopping the earth cooking and basically rendering vast swathes of the earth uninhabitable for the people living on the earth, and the worry of a runaway greenhouse effect, which could see our climate increase in heat by several degrees, not just 1.5 degrees, but literally a lot of degrees. The Tories have U-turned. They've flip-flopped. They decided they're not going to do that anymore. And and the Daily Express is leading with this absolute lie about cheaper foods on its way. Yeah, we'll believe it when I see it. These are the same people who wrote things like the steal of the new Iron Lady about Theresa May, or at last a true Tory budget about I've forgotten the name now. Liz Truss. Fiona Phillips has Alzheimer's, which is awful. She's only 62. But Boris. Oh, this is typical Daily Mail scum newspaper. The Daily Mail, as I described it yesterday, the paper for people who know they're never going to see their grandchildren again. Boris's Partygate accuser faces his own political probe. This is about Sir Bernard Jenkin, who was part of the committee looking into Boris Johnson, whether he misled Parliament, not the parties. He didn't get in trouble with Parliament for the parties. He got into trouble with Parliament for lying to Parliament about the parties. It's a thing, you know. It's like saying that Al Capone went down for being a mafiosi boss. No, he didn't. He went down for tax evasion. That's what he was done for. And then doing all these things in the newspapers going, oh, but look at all these other people who are in mafias. He didn't do all those murders himself. He only ordered someone else to do them. So really, was it murder? Really? No. That's what he wasn't done for that. He was done for tax evasion. Al Capone, right? Tax evasion, not for being a gangster. Same with Boris Johnson. He wasn't done for having the parties. He wasn't admonished by Parliament for having parties. He wasn't he wasn't suspended from Parliament, or he would have been suspended from Parliament for 30 days for the parties. It was because he lied to Parliament, as he did to his wives and his mistresses and his newspaper editors and the leaders of the parties and everyone in his cabinet and the people of this country and the Queen and the people of Northern Ireland and everyone he's ever met, because he's a lying sack of shit. Fight the right, Graham, says David Faulkner with some toilet paper. Thank you very much. 38 Hong Kong dollars there from David Faulkner. I will be using that toilet paper to I don't know, TP someone's house. And then, the Metro is leading the 75th birthday of the NHS, and a picture of Kate Middleton for some reason. And, another picture of Kate Middleton and this Roger Federer, who I quite like now. I never used to like him very much, but I like him a bit more now than I did, just because he's not Novak Djokovic. Anyway, so Novak Djokovic. The whole of Brexit was cultural. It definitely wasn't based on evidence. 10 seconds of honesty, looking at the facts, would mean you vote to remain. Yeah, indeed. Indeed it is. Indeed it is. Lady professional golf players and tennis players, I don't know about you, but they make my eyeballs revolve, ironically. Okay. All right, mate. Come on. Steady on. It's early in the morning. How do you mention someone on an ancient Samsung? I don't really get that. How do you mention someone on an ancient Samsung? Oh, I think you just do the @. Do you do the @? I have to do that. I'll you put @ and then you type in their name, and if they've already put chat up, then the name should pop. I don't know. I've got an ancient Samsung too. I'm in the same boat. As you. Cheers, mate. Right, I'm going to go. So that was it. I don't know if we got through half the stuff that I wanted to talk about, but we got through a bit, didn't we? It's hard, this. It's only half an hour. Now, you all go over and listen to Jacob Rees-Mogg. God, no. James O'Brien. Yes, go and listen to James O'Brien on LBC if you want it. I don't know. But if you do want to have a listen along, you can join us on the Discord server immediately after the show, where we listen along to James O'Brien and we can comment together, and there's a little chat on the side. And there's only a few of us who do it, but if you want to join us, you will be very welcome. And I generally stay on there while I'm doing other stuff. So I'll be making another video, Moment of Truth, whatever. I will be back on here, on YouTube, at 12 o'clock for Deputy Prime Minister's Questions. The next 2 weeks, we've got the deputies in, which is Oliver Dowden and Angela Rayner will be locking horns in the House of Commons. And Oliver Dowden, I don't know if he has apologised yet for misleading Parliament a few weeks ago. I don't know if he's corrected the record after saying that Labour's policy, their policy on green energy and their green policy in general was going to cost every single family £1,000 or something like that, a number he just completely plucked out of his arse. Well, actually, no, he plucked it off the Daily Mail, who had plucked it out their arse, because they said, "Oh, it's Treasury numbers," and then people asked the Treasury, "Did you do some inquest into this? Did you have a look into it?" They went, "No, we didn't." So let's see if he apologises. Let's see if she brings that up. I think she should. Anyway, yes, and Mary Black is retiring from the House of Commons. Hopefully she won't retire from politics altogether. I might be making a video a bit later on today about the toxicity in the House of Commons, in the Palace of Westminster in general, and how things need to change, obviously. Samsung was a lost soul on a remote Phillip Island. He was founded in the 1970s. Was he? Was he the guy who they had to convince that the war was over, and he didn't believe it for a very, very long time? Maybe. Right. Okay. So thank you for watching. Thank you for all the wonderful, wonderful super chats and all the lovely comments. Sorry I didn't get to read them all, but time moves on. Like I say, I'll be back at 12 o'clock for Prime Minister's Questions if you want to join for that. If not, tomorrow, 9:30, Fillmore House, Morning Brew. Be there or be square. Until then, I'll say thanks for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.